On July 23, 2025, in a silent courtroom in Boise, Idaho, Bryan Kohberger sat motionless as the families of the people he killed finally faced him. One by one, they stepped forward, their voices shaking but their eyes steady, forcing him to listen to the pain he created. Dylan Mortensen, who survived the night that 4 of her friends were slaughtered, stood just feet away and told him he had stolen something she could never get back. Her peace, her innocence, her ability to exist in a world that no longer felt safe after what he had done. Kaylee Goncalvez's father turned toward him and made sure his words landed directly where they belonged. He told him he was nothing. Her sister followed, staring into his face and calling him exactly what she believed he was. A coward, a monster, a man who chose darkness. The courtroom reacted with raw emotion. Some cried, some applauded, some simply stared. And through every second of it, Bryan Kohberger remained silent. He did not defend himself. He did not explain himself. He did not apologize. When the judge finally spoke, his words removed any illusion about what came next. He described Kohberger as a man who crept into a home and ended 4 lives without mercy. Then he imposed the sentence. For life terms. No parole. No release. No end. But what's easy to miss is that the real punishment had not even begun yet. Because the place where Bryan Kohberger was sent is not just a prison. It is a place designed to erase freedom completely. A place built for men the state never intends to forgive. The Idaho Maximum Security Institution stands alone in the desert outside Kuna, surrounded by emptiness and razor wire. Inside are the most dangerous offenders Idaho has ever held. Every movement is controlled. Every moment is watched. Every day is the same. Cells remain locked nearly all day. Human contact is rare. Silence is constant. The isolation is not temporary. It is permanent. This is the environment Bryan Kohberger entered after the courtroom emptied. This is the reality that replaced the attention, the headlines, and the trial. And this is where his life continues now. This is where his future disappears. There is no audience here. No cameras. No voices calling his name. Only steel doors, concrete walls, and time that refuses to move faster. Each morning arrives the same as the last. Each night ends the same way it began. Alone. The sentence spoken in that courtroom did more than lock him away. It placed him somewhere the world cannot see him anymore. Somewhere he cannot escape what he has become. Somewhere he will remain long after the memories of the trial begin to fade. And that is the true meaning of the sentence he received that day inside that silent room in Boise, Idaho court building forever. After the courtroom doors closed and the cameras disappeared, Bryan Kohberger was removed from public view and delivered to the place where Idaho carries out its longest punishments. He was transported under heavy guard from the Ada County Jail to the Idaho Maximum Security Institution and assigned to J Block, a housing unit reserved for the most closely monitored inmates in the entire state system. This unit does not function like ordinary prison housing. Those who have lived inside it describe it as a separate world, a place where isolation is not a temporary measure but a permanent condition. Kohberger was placed inside a single concrete cell just large enough for a bed, a toilet, and a small metal desk attached to the wall. The door remains closed almost every hour of every day. When he leaves the cell, it is not freely. His wrists are secured. His ankles are secured. He is escorted by officers trained to expect violence even if none comes. His daily routine follows a pattern designed to remove unpredictability. Meals arrive through a narrow slot cut into the steel door. He does not see the person delivering them. He hears only movement, then metal sliding shut again. Showers are scheduled, controlled, and brief. Recreation exists, but it does not resemble freedom. He is escorted into an outdoor enclosure surrounded by high walls and fencing, a space that allows him to see the sky but nothing beyond it. There are no conversations, no gatherings, no shared moments, only separation, only distance. The men housed near him are not ordinary offenders. They are individuals whose crimes place them beyond consideration for release. Some have spent decades inside similar cells. Some are waiting for executions that may never arrive. These are the voices Kohberger hears now, the presence he lives beside, the reality that replaced the courtroom where his name once filled headlines. But what has defined his experience most has not been the physical environment. It has been the reaction of the inmates who already lived there. Word of his arrival spread before he ever entered the building. His crimes were known. His face was known. His story was known. And when he arrived, he entered an environment where anonymity did not exist. Communication inside J Block does not require direct contact. The structure itself carries sound. Vents connect cells. Doors carry vibrations. Voices travel through spaces not designed for silence. Within days, Kohberger began hearing those voices directed at him. They called his name. They reminded him of why he was there. They spoke to him without seeing him. The words came at different hours. Morning, night, hours when sleep should have come but did not. Former corrections officials familiar with isolation housing have described this kind of environment as mentally exhausting. There is no way to predict when the next disruption will arrive. There is no way to stop it. The cell protects the body, but it cannot block sound. And over time, the absence of control becomes its own form of pressure. Kohberger responded in the only way available to him. He reported what was happening. He submitted complaints. He asked for intervention. But inside prison, requests do not always bring relief. Sometimes they bring attention. Sometimes they confirm weakness. And sometimes they change nothing at all. His cell remained the same. His surroundings remained the same. And the reality of where he had been sent became clearer with each passing day. This was not a place designed for recovery. It was a place designed for permanence. A place where time does not shorten sentences. A place where the future and the present become the same thing. As weeks turned into months, the psychological impact of isolation began to define Kohberger's existence more than the physical restrictions ever could. Inside a cell where every day repeats itself, time does not move in the same way. There are no events to separate one day from the next. No milestones. No progress. Only continuation. For inmates housed in units like J Block, the mind becomes the only space where anything can still happen. And that space can become unpredictable. Reports from individuals familiar with his confinement indicated that Kohberger began seeking ways to change his circumstances. He filed additional requests. He asked to be moved. He described the environment as intolerable. He described the constant noise. He described the pressure of living under conditions where privacy exists but peace does not. Psychologists who study long-term incarceration have explained that control becomes the most valuable resource inside prison. Outside prison, control exists in simple choices. Where to go, when to speak, when to rest. Inside prison, those choices disappear. Every movement is decided by someone else. Every moment belongs to a system that does not adjust itself to individual discomfort. For someone like Kohberger, whose crimes brought global attention, the loss of that control can carry additional consequences. Attention disappears. Identity changes. The name that once appeared everywhere becomes just another name on a list. And inside prison, attention does not bring influence. It brings isolation. While his life moved into routine, the lives he destroyed remained defined by absence. Families continued to speak about the people they lost. Parents described empty rooms. Friends described memories that ended too early. The night of November 13, 2022, did not become easier to understand with time. It remained frozen. For students. For lives. For futures that ended inside a home where they believed they were safe. Investigators searched for answers that never fully came. No clear motive explained why that house was chosen. No explanation clarified what he intended to accomplish. The silence he maintained in court continued inside prison. He did not offer reasons. He did not provide closure. He carried that silence with him into the cell where he now lives. Inside that facility, the future stretches forward without change. There is no release date waiting. No hearing scheduled. No conclusion approaching. Each day begins and ends inside the same walls. Each year adds time but removes nothing. The sentence does not evolve. It remains exactly what it was when it was first spoken. For the families, the sentence ensured he would never return to the outside world. For Kohberger, the sentence ensured he would never leave the inside one. His world is now measured in routines, in locked doors, in controlled movement, in isolation that does not end. And in that isolation, the reality of his punishment continues. Not in headlines, not in courtrooms, but in the quiet, controlled environment where he will remain, separated from everything he once knew, for the rest of his life. And this is where Bryan Kohberger's story leaves the courtroom and enters something far quieter and far more permanent. He did not receive a death sentence. He received something designed to last longer. In Idaho, a death sentence often begins a process filled with appeals, delays, and uncertainty that can stretch across decades. Some inmates spend the rest of their lives waiting for an execution that never comes. Others come close and then are pulled back when the system fails. The possibility of an ending exists, even if that ending never arrives. But Bryan Kohberger was not given that possibility. His punishment does not move toward a final moment. It moves only forward through time. There is no execution date waiting in the distance. There is no hearing that could shorten what was decided. There is only the routine of the cell, the sound of steel doors, and the knowledge that tomorrow will be the same as today. When the sentence was read, the families spoke about what justice meant to them. They spoke about loss that cannot be repaired. They spoke about futures that disappeared. And they spoke about the man who will now live the rest of his life inside a place he cannot leave. Years will pass. Headlines will fade. Public attention will move on. But his sentence will remain exactly where it began. So now the question no court can answer belongs to you. Is a lifetime inside those walls a harsher punishment than death? Or should the death penalty have been the final outcome in this case? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to continue following cases like this, subscribe, because the story does not end here. More investigations are coming. The decisions made in that courtroom continue to echo long after the doors closed. His world is now measured in days that never change and nights that never offer escape. The sentence did not just take his freedom. It defined the rest of his existence forever. The question remains, what do you believe justice should have been here today? Now decide now.